packed snow and ice, and I slowed down. You could see her wanting to straighten out.
Well, and his 20-year-old daughter, Darcy, set out from Coos Bay, Oregon on March 21st, 1994. Their 400-mile trip across the state was to be a new beginning for her and her 13-month-old daughter. But along the way, everything suddenly changed.
I have to. Your mom will be behind me and you'll be up there with me, okay?
This was just going to be a quick trip for me to go over to Bend and come back the same day.
And then go on up over the mountain, all right?
My daughter was moving over to Bend to continue her education in the nursing program over there and work her way through college. I was more coordinated to driving with one hand and dealing with the baby with the other hand than Darcy was, so I just decided, well, we'll just put the baby in my vehicle and that'll moving over to Bend to continue her education in the nursing program over there and work her way through college. I was more coordinated to driving with one hand and dealing with the baby with the other hand than Darcy was, so I just decided, well, we'll just put the baby in my vehicle and that'll make things a little bit easier on Darcy when it comes time to go over the pass.
There's your mom inside the radio.
Is the load in the back of your vehicle stable? You're not slipping too much, are you?
No, I can see. It's fine.
Okay, just remember we're going to get into some slippery conditions up here. It's going to be packed snow and ice.
When we started hitting packed snow and ice, and I slowed down, I like to keep her in my rearview mirror.
How far do we have to go still?
We have about another 2 hours or so before we get to Bend.
You could see her wanting to straighten out, but she just clipped the end of the guardrail. I thought maybe she didn't go all the way. Maybe she got hung up on some boulders that would have stopped her.
What's the baby?
That's when I bail off the side of the hill. All the way down, I'm calling for her, and she's not responding.
Darcy!
And I'm thinking in my mind, oh God, don't let her be dead. Don't let her be dead.
Darcy! What's coming?
It's a big weight lifted off your shoulders, knowing that, hey, she's alive and there's still a chance to get her out. That's when the engine caught on fire.
That's to be expected. That's a nice area up there.
Dan Tenninger and his cousin happened to be driving the same road.
You could see skid marks going right off the edge of the cliff.
There's a car over the bank.
Like alone when I'm going down.
It looked like someone smoldering fire down there. You couldn't see nothing. But I didn't want to be a spectator and just watch it burn from the top of the cliff.
Police, fire, and ambulance. Do you have an emergency?
Yes, I do. There's a car went off a cliff here, up on Highway 58, up on the pass. I just stopped. It's on fire.
Highway 58, do you know what milepost you're at?
I'm not sure what mile.
The cellular call initially came in to the Eugene EMS Center, 55 miles away.
Okay.
Oh, man, those people are dead.
Hang in there, Darcy.
I had to cut her out of her seat belt. You don't want to move a person with a back injury, but I can feel the heat of the flames on my back. I didn't know if the gas tank was going to explode, because I knew she had at least a half a tank of gas.
It's okay, I gotta get you up.
Fortunately, her feet were not tangled up in anything. I was able to utilize the seat and keeping her body as rigid as possible, pull her out as straight as I can.
I gotta get you away from here. Please, I know. Hang with me.
The rocks were the size of Volkswagens. We were slipping and falling. A tire exploded. Boom! We didn't know what it was. We jumped a little bit.
Oakridge fire and ambulance units were immediately dispatched, but they were more than 20 minutes away.
And what kind of vehicle? Car?
Okay, they got the guy out. Don't move him! Don't move him, Daddy!
Who got the guy out? Who's with him?
My buddy. He's dragging the guy. Don't move him! He could have a broken leg or something in his neck or back.
Do you know if the person is conscious or breathing?
I can't tell. Let me find out. Is he okay? Is he alive? Dan! It's a girl.
Patient is a female. Is she conscious?
Yes, she's crying.
We weren't but maybe 15, 20 feet away, and the flames had just engulfed the vehicle. The whole left side of her body had taken a beating. There was a lot of blood covering the left side of her face. She said, "Dad, I'm not afraid to die."
We just kind of held our hands together and prayed for her.
Lord, give us strength to make it.
She was more concerned about her baby than she was for herself. Devin was up at the top of the hill. The baby wouldn't have survived the accident. The temperature had dropped to about 20 degrees. She was going into hypothermia.
And there was bags of clothes that had fallen out of her car. So we broke open the bags of clothes, started packing her in these clothes, trying to make her as comfortable as we could.
EMT Mark Leverton was one of the first medics on the scene.
I looked down the hill and said, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do?" I didn't think anybody could live through something like that. And I saw probably some of the worst conditions for rescue that you could have.
We're gonna need a lot of bodies for picking up and putting her in the soak.
You had steep ground, you had slippery ground. It was gonna be a brute force show.
You got a year on the head. You stabilize the head. We need 2 people on shoulders, 2 people on hips, 2 people on legs. We're gonna pick her up as a unit, put her in.
Okay.
She kept asking me, how far did I go down? I thought maybe they'd put her in shock. She actually knew how far she fell. So I didn't want to tell her, yeah, you just went 300-400 feet over a cliff, and you're all busted up.
She had some obvious outward signs of cuts and scrapes and bruises, but along with those come internal injuries, which are the silent killers.
Kind of go to your right a little bit.
There were 3 times up the hill where she got real quiet and real limp, and I thought she was gone. But every time she was a fighter, she came back.
2.5 hours after the crash, Darcy was finally pulled out of the ravine.
I still had about a 75-mile drive into St. Charles Hospital in Bend. Your first instinct is to hurry, but I had to remember I still had my granddaughter with me, and I didn't want another accident to happen. It was probably the longest 75 miles that I could have driven.
20-year-old Darcy Criswell was transferred to an Airlife helicopter and taken to St. Charles Medical Center, where neurosurgeon Mark Belsa took over her care.
Good to see you. She's been down a little while. She's a little bit cool, but she's moving all extremities.
She had a fractured spine. She had a fractured left elbow. She had a fractured foot, a bruised lung, a perforated lung. Look over here. She could have had a lot worse. She could have been thrown from the vehicle and died. Darcy could have been killed by fire. She came within a half an inch of being paralyzed from the waist down because of her spinal fracture.
I didn't really realize the impact of the accident until I seen my daughter laying in ICU. I must have stayed there quite late, just waiting for her to go to sleep.
A year has passed.
I kind of believe that things happen for a purpose. And it's like, what exactly am I supposed to be learning from this? I mean, was this really necessary?
She'll never be able to be a floor nurse because of her back injury, the weakness in her arm. The requirements are you have to lift, I think, 50 pounds to be able to lift that. She's just now getting to the point where she can lift her daughter. But she's very determined. She's known since she was 8 years old that she was going to go to college.
I am glad that I wore my seatbelt, and I'm really thankful that there were people there to help me.
There was a state trooper down there. He actually let me wear his hat for a while. He said I earned it.
I was sore for days. But it's always good to have a save. And this is one that I put in my top 5.
My dad, to me, was a hero. I think as kids and teenagers, people don't appreciate their parents. They just kind of forget what all their parents do for them. And it made me really stop and think.
Next.
Teresa let